For those that don't know, either myself or you, I'll do a quick introduction and hand the mic over to you, Dave. I lead our enterprise partnerships team here at Experian in the marketing services division. Been with the company about 4.5 years, came through the Tapad acquisition, and excited that we work closely with Fusion92. Happy that we get to have you as our guest star today. So I'll hand the mic over to you for introductions.
Yeah, thanks, Crystal. Really happy to be here. It's an honor. My name is Dave Nugent. I am the EVP of Data Science and Strategy at Fusion92. So I oversee all of our data assets, our data science team, the data strategy teams. I've been at Fusion92 for a little over 2 years, but I've been in the industry for almost 30 years. Yeah, really, like I said, very excited to be here and look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, thanks. So if you've joined any of our other kind of group sessions in the past, we always like to lead with icebreakers here. So one word answers. I'm going to throw a couple of things your way. I know you're a veteran, but what are you thinking is the biggest buzzword of 2025?
There's a lot to choose from. I would say, and it's not just this year, I chuckle at the term data-driven. Data-driven's used a lot. I use it a lot. So I'm not casting stones from my glass house. I use it a lot too, but I always find it interesting how everything is data-driven these days, even if it's not the way I would define data-driven. And there's not a right or wrong answer. I just think that it's a overused buzzword and has many applications. So I love hearing other people's perspective on the term.
That's a good one. We do a lot of things that are driven by data here, so I kind of agree with you. I don't think it's going anywhere either. One more quick icebreaker here for you. So, all right, what was your first social media platform? The options I'm giving you are Facebook or MySpace, but if there's another one that comes to mind, feel free to add that in there.
A little embarrassed to admit that I was not an early adopter to either Facebook or MySpace. It's kind of boring. My first was LinkedIn, and then I got into Twitter, now X. But those were the two. I don't know. I didn't have that big draw to overshare my personal details. But I'm clearly a big fan now. But yeah, I was kind of a late adopter to those. The very first one though was Twitter. I loved it, and then LinkedIn for business reasons.
Makes sense. I love LinkedIn as well. And I like that it's kind of morphed into my industry friends. So it kind of feels like an extension of other social platforms too. So, all right, let's jump into the content. It'd be great if you can give our audience a little bit of background about who Fusion92 is and really the Experian Fusion92 relationship that came together, and what has you excited about how we still work together today.
We are now a marketing transformation partner. We really like to get in with our clients and help them understand, what their big goals or big objectives are. And oftentimes that requires not just providing some services, it's actually digging in deep and offering services that are truly transformational. And I came in 2 years ago because a lot of these transformations are dependent on having a really strong grasp of data, how to use data to fuel those transformational services. Even though I've only been with Fusion92 for a little over 2 years, I've worked with them for close to 20 years. And it's been a great journey. I would come in and help Fusion92 socialize the benefits of data and how to use it very strategically, but made it a formal partnership by joining the company, like I said, 2 years ago. My relationship with Experian, though, goes way back, 25 years, might be even pushing 30 years now. Really an early adopter of Experian data and how to use it to power all these advanced marketing campaigns. We really got into developing technologies that need data at the core, and we had to make a decision on what kind of fuel, if you will, what kind of fuel we wanted for these technologies and these solutions. And Experian was the obvious choice. We've always had such great success with their data. It's never really let us down. The recognition of the brand is really, really high in the industry. Our clients, get a warm and fuzzy feeling when they know we're using Experian data to not only fuel our technology that they would be using, but also just know that if we are, maybe not even using our custom technology, we're just using a data set to do some analytics or some audience curation. They like knowing that Experian is at the core of what we do.
Well, I love to hear that. I like when my customers tell me that, and anyone in the market says things like that. I have to assume, though, you must have possibly considered other data providers, or you might have tested other providers. Are there any, other than kind of our brand name and market, are there other key capabilities that really feel like make Experian stand out from the competition, or reasons why you work with us today?
It was decades ago. I remember a colleague said to me, "Hey, Dave, I think data is going to be the currency of the future." And at the time I was like, well, that's interesting perspective on data. But I quickly realized that this person was right. And I embraced this philosophy. And I said, okay, well, if data is going to be the currency of the future, who am I going to align myself? And Experian was already my preferred source, but I had a responsibility not only to myself, but also to the clients that I serve to bring some objectivity to the table. I pride myself on being impartial. And so I did it. I evaluated a lot of other data sources, and I kept coming back to Experian. Not only were all of our analytical processes performing better when we had Experian at the core, but we also saw Experian grow in ways that aligned with our growth patterns, whether it was the introduction of new technologies, maybe it was an acquisition of another organization that gave them additional capabilities. Most recently, like the tap ad graph, getting into the identity space a little bit more aggressively was really instrumental for us. But they just feel like a cut of the same cloth. Like we always had that symbiotic nature between our two organizations. A lot of continuity too, believe it or not. My day one representative is still my representative today. So 27 years later. So continuity was also huge. But, aside from just Experian never really letting me down in terms of data quality, data accuracy, data reliability, there's one funny kind of metric that we have that's unique that I don't think a lot of people would have access to. And we've had variety of list count and procurement systems. So it's your typical online run a count, procure a list. Back in the day, it was mostly mailing lists. Now it obviously has a lot of digital applications, but we had these list count and procurement tools, and Experian was always at the core. Well, every now and then we would try different data sets just to see okay, what would the feedback be from our clients? And we would produce hundreds of custom curated lists per month. And invariably, you're going to have people that complain. And we always had this one metric that our complaint rate was always significantly lower when Experian was our source of data than the other data companies. And so I knew internally that Experian was doing really well for the campaigns, the really advanced campaigns, deep analytics, powering our custom technologies. I knew that they were doing well, but when I would get this validating feedback that our clients maybe just buying a really small list for a local mailing, but we just never got the complaints with Experian data. But every time we tried another source, we would get complaints coming in, and it was just like I said, it was validation that we were on the right track.
I love that. I've never heard that the complaint rate was the lowest, but I'm going to take that and adopt that internally.
Absolutely.
So speaking about how you've used our data and some of your offerings and platforms, I'd love to have you share a little bit about what you're using today and how that has, powered your marketing offerings that you guys have at Fusion92, if you can dive into some of that.
We do offer data services that I would consider our table stakes for a data company. People could come to us and say, hey, I need you to, just custom curate a targeting list or an audience based on, some filters. And we are very seasoned and experienced, and we know how to create targeted lists based on criteria or requirements that are verbalized by our clients. And so we can do that. We also get into building advanced predictive models, segmentation systems. I mean, these are things that are not rare in the industry for a service provider, but we like to think that we're better than everybody else, but they're not rare. It's just, these aren't things that we would say are big differentiators. What is differentiating is some of these technologies that we have developed over the years. Probably not enough time to go through all of them. We have DIOS and DAX and NoMi, but the one that probably is most germane to this conversation is DIOS. So DIOS is data input output system. It is one of those, as I discussed earlier, a web-based list count and procurement tool. Now it does other things. It could do, upload some first-party data and do a profile report. It can upload some first-party data and do some enrichment of data. And then naturally, it's a tool where any user could come along and say, I need to build a list, and here are the demographic, geographic, psychographic characteristics that I want to select and build a list. Now, with DIOS, we have two flavors of audience generation. We have the DIY version, where somebody would say, I know my criteria. I know what defines my best customers. I need this demographic, this geographic, and they can build those audiences themselves. But then there's other people that don't know what their criteria is. They think they do, but they're like, I'm not really sure. So DIOS allows you to upload any type of a list, a first party list. Maybe it's people that have purchased a product in the last year, or people that responded to a campaign in the last 30 days. It doesn't really matter what kind of list you upload. We will build on the fly lookalike models using best data science techniques, no human intervention though, and we will generate a on the fly custom built predictive model, lookalike model, and we'll use that model algorithm to dip into the Experian database and literally score the database according to whatever constraints the user puts on it. Maybe it's constrained by geography, maybe it's constrained by a particular demographic, but the model is run and the user just says, oh great, I don't need to know what my characteristics are. I'll let DIOS tell me what my characteristics are, and it'll auto create that list for you based on whatever your quantity requirements are. And so we have Experian data powering DIOS, and we're very proud of it, but we didn't want to stop there. We wanted then to be able to say, all right, now that somebody has this custom created audience, how do we help them activate it across all of the different addressable channels? Well, with the Experian graph added to our graph, we were able to create a reach tool. We could basically say, all right, I want to take this list and I want to activate it across all these different ad buying platforms, or maybe I want to run a direct mail campaign. Whatever your channel mix is, our technology DAX allows you to actually distribute that audience to these ad buying platforms and activate them in what we call a controlled exposure sort of way. It's a single audience routed to all these different ad buying platforms. It's a single source of truth, if you will, and that is the audience in which you're going to actually serve media, and as opposed to maybe going to each ad buying platform individually and trying to create your targeting criteria there. We create the audience inside of DIOS, and then we use DAX to actually route it to all those different platforms. And we have really great results as a result. We get great results because we have this single audience and these controlled exposures.
That's amazing. These platforms sound incredible, and I have a feeling you're going to have your phone ringing off the hook after this session once people start hearing what you guys can do. Speaking about what you can do and the clients you work with, I don't know if you can name a client, but I would love to hear more of a client success story. Like if you can think of an instance where someone came to you with obviously one type of challenge and you guys were able to solve for it, either with these platforms or something else.
Probably out of respect for some confidentialities, I'll keep names out, but I will go vertical specific with you. So one vertical is the amusement. I'll call it amusement vertical. So they attract people to their parks, and this particular client wanted us to take their first party data, join it with the Experian data and some custom geographical definitions that we put in place. And we built a targeting strategy, an advanced targeting strategy. And we wanted to basically help them identify past customers and prospective new customers within this tight trade area. We wanted to be able to prioritize media spend that was based on the results of all the modeling that we did. So it wasn't just targeting the right audiences. It was, well, what channels do we want to use based on some really cool insights that come out of the Experian database, so channel preference data. So we've targeted the right households, we've got the channel preferences, and we want to then omni-channel market to them. So we use our technology to route to those different platforms, and we ran a variety of campaigns. Attribution was really important. Having the graph is another fantastic tool for campaign attribution. So we're measuring not only, we're measuring the signals coming in through a variety of different response channels. But the biggest metric that they were after was, we need to sell. We need to sell, admittance to the park. And so we were able to beat goal by 70%.
Wow.
So this was a recent, this is within the last couple of months. So we built this unbelievable targeting model using Experian data joined with the first party data. We constrained it to some custom geographic definitions, and we went omni-channel using your graph to help us, get to the right households across these different channels. And the performance speaks for itself. They set what we thought was a bit of a stretch goal, and we beat that stretch goal by 70%. So that was pretty exciting.
Incredible. Yeah, that's a big number too. And candidly, the combination of these two products, our digital graph and our marketing data, we do find a lot of success with. So I'm happy to hear that. And more importantly, how do you feel like the market's receiving this launch of these products that you're putting out there, DIOS and DAS, and what type of feedback have you guys received?
At Fusion92, we have a variety of ways for us to target and activate. We can target using some really tried and true methods like category research or interviewing stakeholders at our organizations, or what I get most excited about and most comfortable doing, mining first party data, trying to tease out those meaningful insights that you can exploit, you can activate against. Our clients love it. They love knowing that we can create these single audiences, route them to all these different channel platforms, run campaigns in this unified, coordinated fashion, and not have to rely on what a lot of organizations are still doing. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that maybe they just don't have the capabilities because they haven't formed a relationship with Experian. But they try to create all of their targeting inside of these platforms. And unfortunately, you might have some targeting features within one platform that hits the mark, but then you go to a different targeting platform because the client says, you know what, I'd like for us to run some media over here. And then we find out that the same criteria is not there. So then you start using proxies to try to get to the right households. And then that introduces this uncoordinated exposure. Yeah, you're hitting the same households sometimes, but not all the time. And that introduces the idea of waste and noise. And we just don't like that. Our clients have been really receptive to our approach of creating these unified audiences. And as a result, I'm really happy to say that we just recently won an Effie award for data-driven strategy and targeted media. And so that's going to be announced here soon. We were told we won, and very, very excited about that.
That's incredible. I did see that on Jeff's LinkedIn, speaking of LinkedIn. So congratulations. That's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
As we wrap up, you guys have some great solutions for a lot of the marketers that are probably going to be tuning into this. If there's other brands out there or agencies considering a similar transformation that's similar to what Fusion92 has done, what are some of the key takeaways or insights that you can share, from your experience of not only working with Experian, but just your tenure in the industry of how do you start? Where's your best first step towards having success? I think any last bits of advice you could share would be really appreciated.
I would say just have the courage to maybe get out of your comfort zone. I think a lot of marketing departments, a lot of marketing agencies that haven't really dabbled in third-party marketing data like Experian and their identity data, that could be intimidating. Like, we have the benefit of doing this for 30 years. We were early adopters. The industry is rapidly moving. They're embracing this idea of data-driven. There I go with the buzzword. They're rapidly embracing these data-driven strategies. But if you haven't really involved yourself in big data, another buzzword, if you haven't really gotten into big data, it's never too late. I would recommend reaching out to data companies like Experian or Fusion92 and really exploring the possibilities. It's not as intimidating as you think. If you have a good partner like Experian, they will help you navigate those waters, and it can become just another arrow to put in your quiver. You may still do your targeting or analytics the way that you used to, but if you haven't looked at this as a way of doing it, you really need to start. You need to start now. It's not too late. Yes, we've had maybe a bit of a 30-year head start, but it's not too late. It's not too late. I fully recommend it. And Experian has proven to us to be an unbelievable partner. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or you're an expert. They will help you make best use out of such an incredible set of data assets. So I highly recommend that. Just have the courage.
Better late than not at all. So
That's right.
Dave, it was lovely to see you as always. Thank you for taking the time to collaborate on this, share with us your products, your success stories. And more importantly, we look forward to another 30 years of working together. Let's keep it
As
going.
do I. It was great seeing you too. Thank you so much.